you started at the ankle there at that cut?
You can start at, I started at the base of the tail first. You can go that way or the other way. On most animals, like a coyote or a wolf or a fox, there's a white underbelly color and then the darker color, and that's kind of a guide. You can use that as a guide.
Yeah. And that's where you want to cut, eh?
I get the sun in my eye, so I got to turn here. Lynx are a strange creature. Like if you're trying to figure out whether it's a male or a female, a lynx will really get you scratching your head. The creator played a cruel trick on the cat family, as far as I'm concerned.
Isn't it just the distance between?
Well, everything is right here.
But is it like a distance thing where if it's longer it's male and if it's shorter?
Yeah, well the trouble is on a mature female, the vulva can look like testicles and vice versa. So you actually have to, and then, you know, the sheath, everything's going backwards to me. And if you hear cats, like alley cats and stuff, when it's breeding, they're going to breed. It does not sound to me like anyone's enjoying it. I'll leave that with you. I used to wonder why they fought so much.
They weren't fighting.
Oh, I got a little pee in the face. Luckily it just went by my eye.
Not in your mouth.
It's really nice when it's, if you're doing a Wolverine or a mustelid, you got to really be careful with that. Because when you get that on you, you won't have any friends for quite some time. You can shower 3 times.
Like being sprayed with a skunk.
Yeah, almost.
What do you read everything comes to that popular trap?
So, the penis bone, the bum, the testicles, or the vulva, they're all way back here. Like on a like a canid or something, the penis bone's going to be way up here. It's really easy. You see right away what it is, not with a cat. Everything's way tucked up here. So it makes it difficult when you're trying to figure out whether it's a male or female. So when I look at that and I think about them breeding, I don't know. Like I said, I feel like someone played a cruel trick on them.
Yeah, this thing is so. Yeah.
Lynx have huge die-offs of starvation in the boreal forest, and that's because they catch grouse. Sometimes they've killed deer, but normally their main species, prey species, is rabbits, bunnies, snowshoe, varying hare, snowshoe hare they call it.
Invented a new color called Labrador Deep.
So how do they deal with rabbit starvation then?
Well, the rabbits usually go through a 10-year cycle, and then they do a huge die-off, and the lynx usually follow within 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
But the rabbit, like if you eat only rabbits, it kills you, right? Because there's no.
Well,
fat.
you get sick from too much. It's called protein poisoning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you can eat quite a few before you get to that state. But
And they
never
don't have that problem. Like where do they get fat in their diet from then?
because they eat the whole animal.
Oh,
So
okay.
same thing for you. You'd be better off if you catch squirrels and rabbits, and that's all you've got. You'd be better off to boil it and as many of the organs as you can, and you're going to get more value out of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guy's not very meaty, eh?
That's
It's a little bit moving.
Rex, get out of there.
Yes. I think, normally we don't eat carnivores. And everybody always says, well, I don't know, I want to taste that. What does it taste like? Well, how do you, that's like saying, what does sugar taste like? It's sweet. Well, if you don't know what sweet means, how do you explain it? So I tell them, well, all I have to work with in their mind is most people that are not bush people, they eat chicken, like poultry, beef, pork, or fish. Anything outside of that they think is gross, and I'm not sure about where that comes from, but it's not true at all.
Is it gamey at all, or
Pardon?
is it gamey at all?
No.
Whole
It
different
is-
ball game, eh?
It is some of the best. It's all white meat, the whole animal, and some of the best you're ever going to eat. Come on.
Ryder.
Yeah, I would tell you to try this, but this thing's been in the freezer for a year, and it's just not the best. So I don't think
Is it worse though?
Is this, are you not recommending, or are you saying that it wouldn't be healthy to eat it at this
Well,
point?
yeah, and I mean, it's been in the freezer with its guts in it. Okay, when you think, oh, I've had meat in the freezer for a year, but it didn't have its guts in it, right? That's something to think about. It does make a difference.
You always do a single leg hang, Ross, or?
No, if you've got a, like I got a gambrel at
Yeah,
home, and
yeah.
I got both legs, but
Just convenience today. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So consequently, it takes a little longer, but that's all right. Yeah, I'm not going to leave the feet on this because at the present time, the industry, there's no market value. So you take the feet, skin this out, and make a nice sheath out of it. Pretty cool.
After being in this freezer for a year, is the fur not viable too?
The fur's okay if it was wrapped well enough and it didn't get freezer burnt.
But this is not viable.
Yeah, it seems okay.
Oh, okay.
Where we'll really see it is around the ears and the face.
Yeah.
That's where it'll freezer burn probably first.
So is that part of like the grading system? It'll just get graded lower?
Yeah, because freezer burn you can't fix.
Yeah.
You can ask any tanner. If you got a hide that's been freezer burnt, it's really hard to tan because you can't fix burnt. That makes sense. So we're going to lose a bunch of fur because of our initial cuts, but then we should be all right. Lynx is a beautiful fur, but it doesn't, its durability isn't as good. Like if you make a garment or something, you make it out of a beaver hide, it'll outlast a lynx probably 3-4 times as long. But the longer fur has never had the durability, and the semi-aquatic species have always had the best, seems like the best durability. Otter being probably the top.
Is there a trade-off there? Like it's less durable, but it's more soft and supple or something?
Yeah, well, for the fashion industry, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But for those of us that are, remember the whole point of fur was warmth.
Yeah.
It's just that it's such a labor-intensive process. Only the rich people can afford it. Well,
So this bit of shed that comes off, that's normal, that's not really losing anything, it's the quality of the fur does. Just be a little bit of fur that falls off while you're skinning normally.
yeah, that part won't matter much.
Is that your kitchen light?
Yeah. I've had to learn a lot of when you're mixing up brain solution for brain tanning, you know, your wife's got a lot of handy things in there, but it's not that good for your marriage. So there's only one way to be sure that you're okay. Do it when she's in town.
Just for the thrill of it.
Well, I remember seeing the photo of her in front of the cabin with a lever action. I wasn't going to mess with it, you know?
Well, she's come a long way.
Ross, when you're fleshing, are you trying to follow the leading edge of the meat, or like you're trying to get the membrane between the meat and the skin, right?
Yeah, the membrane between the muscle and the hide.
And so you're trying to pull down, you're trying to just catch it just as it starts to stretch, right?
Yeah, and that's just because the first part, like once we get going here,
Yeah, you'll just pull, yeah.
yeah, I don't need to do that anymore. And if this was fresh,
Oh, yeah.
sorry buddy, I asked you to leave.
Wow, he's skinny, huh?
Will you bring that leg forward, Hart?
These guys were in that.
Tripod could have been a sight taller, but these are the 3 poles I found nearby. I was lucky to find them around here. Poles don't last long.
Oh yeah, my table disappeared. From last year, I had a nice, 4-pole table built like this, right? It's gone.
When you get any animal that you're doing, when you get to the armpits, it's really difficult with a knife to see what you're doing. So, rule of thumb, there's a grain bag underneath that. Yeah, thank you. Put this down. Anyway, the best way is to pull as much as you can, and then if you've got a stick or something that you can get in there.
You put that much weight on her, huh?
Okay.
You put that much weight on her, huh?
Oh yeah. If you couldn't do that if you had a rip.
Yeah.
But if it's whole, all the fiber's giving, so you can get away with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you clear the elbow, then you can see where you're.
Yeah, but this part, you almost always have to do a little bit of knife work here.
Yeah. You stuck it in the.
Oh yeah. So you see, if we use that felting knife now, I might risk cutting it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the best. So here's where this is trauma.
Yeah.
So whatever happened, and again, I did not trap this animal. We bought it for the education program from a trapper, and it looks to me like it was an accidental. I think he caught it in a wolf set, or I don't know what, because his leg was all buggered up. And
What'd that cost?
pardon?
What'd that cost?
Well, we have a flat rate. I think $75 we pay for them unskinned so that we can use them. Well, several years back, the last fur boom, you get $1,100 for a pup like this.
1,100.
Yeah, but right now, you wouldn't get 100.
$75 or something, right?
Wow, hard times, eh?
The big thing, you know, is that there is a huge movement to try to stop trapping, because trappers are killing defenseless animals for rich people to wear fur, and that is absolutely backwards. But that's the way it's viewed, and so in a lot of places, especially south of us now, they have successfully been able to stop trapping at the detriment to the entire state. Because, and if you want to multiply that here in our boreal region, you can quote me on this, 65% of juveniles in the boreal forest will be dead before they're a year old. 65%. That's astounding.
Juvenile lynx, or? And is that just from trapping?
No,
That's from other animals
that's
eating?
without trapping.
Just survivability, right? You're saying.
So that the best one, there's three things that nature uses, right? Predation, which I like because that's where the animals shop. That's their safe way, right? That's the part we like. When you take predation out of the picture, there's only two things left: starvation and disease. And they're ugly. They're really ugly. And so when I'm asked to trap in the city of Edmonton, as an example, people come and say, there is no way that any of these animals should have to die. They were here first. So we have no business interfering, and I try to explain. Go on, get.
You're next.
So anyway, I hope this is making sense.
So how do you change that level of ignorance then, Ross? What do you do? How do you educate?
So what I explained to them is that they said we need to leave nature alone. And I said, but we built a city here with 800,000 people living in it on the banks of a river. They said, well, that doesn't matter. Nature always balances. I said, it does matter. Nature didn't balance because we interrupted it. And so, anyway, I tell them, what's nature's method if we don't take responsibility? Starvation, predation, and disease. Which is the best? Predation. I said, I agree. So what's the main predator on beaver? Does anybody know, by the way? There's two big animals are main predator animals. Coyotes don't have very good luck. No. They don't take enough to be considered an actual predator.
Bears.
Bears? There's one main one.
Bears eat beavers?
Yeah.
Bears and one other one. Cougar. Well, cougar, there's not enough cougar.
Wolves.
So they don't get classified as a main predator. Bird?
Wolf then.
Wolf. Yep. Wolves and bears. So I said, if we're going to go that route, how many bears and wolves should we import into the river valley in Edmonton? Well, I know it sounds funny, but it's just
It's good logic.
our sympathy is based on a utopian value in life that doesn't exist.
Hey, get big.
So now here we are passing judgment on each other, and with really very little clear understanding. Anyway, I'm trying to pass you. Hope this actually tell, but
I have a story that's fairly lengthy that ties in so close to this. Do you want me to tell it? But I don't want to steal your thunder.
it's what?
Well, it ties right in with what you're talking here, but it's a pretty lengthy kind of story. Yeah?
If you want something, get the meat, not me.
years ago, there was a whole group of us, Dale Kislick and the crew. We went canoeing in northern Saskatchewan. And in La Ronge, there's a place called Robertson's Trading Post. It has just spectacular furs, but it's sort of a grocery store. And I was talking to the owner there, and La Ronge is kind of a hole, but it used to be a really nice place, apparently.
It's my hometown.
Okay, well,
Keep going.
all right.
It is a hole.
So we got talking, and he says 20 years ago it was just a wonderful place to live. And he says the fur industry went downhill. The natives were out in the bush in family groups, and he says they trapped the same ground that their grandfathers did. He says to them it was like picking berries. Each year there was a new crop. And they just maintained and didn't over-harvest, and life was good. So he says out there in the wild, they were raising the kids, teaching them their languages, their customs, their way of life. And they'd come to town and trade in their furs a couple times a year and visit, and then head back out to the land and do what they do. He says when the fur trade went down the tubes, he says there was nothing for them to do, nothing to way for them to buy supplies and that. So the government put them on welfare. Well, then they stayed in town, started drinking, doing drugs, and that's when the whole thing kind of went south. So it's a sad kind of story. You're not doing them any favors. You're not doing the animals any favors, like Ross is telling us. So that's my 2 bits worth. But if you get a chance to go see the Robertson's Trading Post, it's worth a 6-hour drive.
And bring lots of money.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can do that too.
Anyway, the point is that thank you, Hart. That ties right in. That the interesting part of this is that who gets to decide? Who gets to decide which animals? If mice got into your house and they're trying to set up a nest in your pantry, well, it's not rocket science. You got to do some wildlife control. But if I could take you for a month with me out in the bush and show you what happens when an overpopulation occurs in the bush, it would probably completely change the way you look at it. It's not anything close to what people think. So if we're taking the life of this animal, we want to do the best thing we can with the fur. This still has to be fleshed and boarded and dried. I'm not going to do that today because I've done that in other Paramat. But basically, the nose, the eyelids, the eyebrow, all the whiskers, everything comes with the fur. The rest stays on the pelt, or on the carcass.
And then what about you were saying the ears that you tell if it's freezer burn?
Well, I'll show you that if I have enough time at the end. But it's when I have to basically remove the cartilage out of here. So I have to pretty much turn them inside out. That's when you'll really notice, but I don't think they are.
But you just clean cut them off to get the pelt off, right? You just clean cut off the bottom of the ear.
Yeah, at the base of the ear.
Yeah.
So I can still fix this up when I get back. I got these in the wilderness.
We shop at the same place, obviously. Yeah, when you're living there. It's next to that balsam fir just north of here, isn't it? No?